The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tension as Ambassador Veldar of the Zephyrian Empire stood before the assembled delegates. His four arms gestured dramatically as holographic displays showed human settlements across dozens of worlds. Esteemed colleagues, Veldar's voice carried through the translation matrix. We face an unprecedented situation. The species calling themselves humans continues to expand into territories we have designated as buffer zones. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. Representatives from 47 different species shifted in their bioadaptive seating, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses. Counselor Thexrick of the Mantic Collective raised one of his razor-sharp appendages. Ambassador Veldar, our intelligence suggests these humans are remarkably peaceful. Their expansion appears to be driven by curiosity rather than conquest. The holographic display shifted to show human colonies. Peaceful cities with green spaces, research facilities, and what appear to be recreational areas. Children of various species played together in integrated communities. Human medical teams worked alongside alien colleagues in disaster relief efforts. Exactly my point, Veldar continued, his scaled hide shifting to a deeper blue indicating frustration. This apparent pacifism is clearly a deception. No species achieves faster-than-light travel without significant military capability. They must be hiding their true nature. High Arbiter Quanleth, an ancient being whose species had witnessed the rise and fall of 3 galactic civilizations, spoke from her position at the center of the chamber. Her voice carried the weight of millennia. What evidence do you present of human military deception, Ambassador? Veldar activated another hologram. Our deep space reconnaissance has detected what humans call Marines on several of their vessels. Military units, clearly designed for warfare. Yet when we observe their activities, they appear to be engaged in what humans term humanitarian missions and peacekeeping operations. The display showed human Marines distributing food supplies to refugees, constructing shelters after natural disasters, and evacuating civilians from conflict zones involving other species. Counselor Xeris of the Plasma Collective, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field generator, pulsed with amusement. Perhaps, Ambassador, you're seeing exactly what is there. These humans may indeed prefer peace to war. Impossible. Veldar's hide now displayed angry red patterns. No successful species can be genuinely peaceful. It goes against every principle of evolutionary development. They must be planning something. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued that humanity should be observed longer before any action was taken. Others suggested formal contact to establish diplomatic relations. But Veldar's faction grew more insistent that preemptive action was necessary. Finally, High Arbiter Quanleth called for order. This council has heard arguments from all sides. However, we cannot act on suspicion alone. We will implement Protocol Omega-7. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Protocol Omega-7 was reserved for species deemed potentially dangerous to galactic stability. It authorized the creation of fabricated conflicts designed to reveal a species' true military capabilities. We will create a scenario that threatens human settlements, Quanleth announced. If they are truly peaceful, they will seek diplomatic solutions. If they harbor secret military ambitions, this will force them to reveal their capabilities. Within days, the plan was set in motion. The Council hired the Corvin Marauders, a notorious pirate fleet known for their brutality, to attack human colonies in the Tau Ceti system. The attack was designed to look like a routine piracy operation, with no connection to the Galactic Council. On the human colony of New Terra, Commander Sarah Chun of the Colonial Defense Force received the distress signal at 0347 hours local time. The message was fragmented, filled with static, and the sounds of weapons fire. This is New Pacifica colony, under attack. Unknown vessels, they're targeting civilian areas, requesting immediate assistance. Chen's staff gathered around the holodeck as scanner data populated the display. Three massive ships of unknown configuration were bombarding the peaceful agricultural world of New Pacifica. The colony housed over 2 million civilians, including large populations of refugee families from various species that had fled conflicts in other sectors. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez, "we're detecting massive energy signatures. Whatever weapons they're using, they're specifically targeting civilian infrastructure. Schools, hospitals, residential areas." Chen's jaw tightened. New Pacifica was known throughout the sector for its medical research facilities and refugee assistance programs. The colony had never been involved in any military activities. "What's our response capability?" she asked. "The USS Leatherneck is in system, ma'am. Marine Expeditionary Unit 23 is aboard, approximately 800 Marines. The destroyer USS Valiant is 3 hours out, and the cruiser USS Constitution is 6 hours behind that." Chun studied the tactical display. The attacking ships were massive, easily outgunning the human vessels. Standard military doctrine would suggest waiting for reinforcements or attempting diplomatic contact. "Give me Colonel Martinez aboard the Leatherneck," Chun ordered. The hologram of Colonel James Martinez materialized moments later. His weathered face showed the calm determination that had made him a legend among the Marines. Behind him, Chun could see his staff working frantically at their stations. "Colonel, what's your assessment?" Chun asked. Martinez's response was immediate. "Ma'am, we have civilians dying right now. Among them are Terran families, but also Arcturian refugees, Centauri orphans, and elderly vegan scholars who came to New Pacifica for medical treatment. These aren't military targets. Can your Marines handle ships that size?" A thin smile crossed Martinez's face. "Ma'am, my Marines have been training for hostile boarding operations since before we left Earth. Size doesn't matter when you're fighting room to room." Chun made her decision. "Colonel, you are authorized to engage. Rules of engagement. Save every civilian we can, ma'am. These pirates picked the wrong species to mess with." Within 30 minutes, the USS Leatherneck was accelerating toward New Pacifica at maximum burn. In the ship's preparation bays, 800 Marines were suiting up for what many assumed would be a suicide mission. Gunnery Sergeant Maria Santos checked her squad's equipment one final time. Her Marines came from a dozen different human cultures, but they had trained together until they moved like a single organism. "Listen up," Santos addressed her squad. "Intel shows 3 massive ships hitting civilian targets. We don't know who they are or what they want, but we know what they're doing. They're killing innocent people." Private Chun raised his hand. "Gunny, those ships are 10 times our size. How are we supposed to take them?" Santos grinned, the expression visible through her helmet's transparent faceplate. "Son, size doesn't matter when you're angry enough. And right now, every Marine on this ship is very, very angry." The squad checked their weapons one final time. Each Marine carried advanced pulse rifles, plasma grenades, and cutting tools designed for ship-to-ship combat. But their real weapon was something the galaxy had never seen before. Human Marines who had just watched someone attack defenseless civilians. As the USS Leatherneck approached the outer edge of the New Pacifica system, long-range sensors revealed the full scope of the devastation. Entire city blocks were burning. Evacuation ships struggled to escape the planet's gravity well while being hunted by fighter craft launched from the massive pirate vessels. Colonel Martinez stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display with growing fury. Each red icon represented civilian casualties. Each destroyed building had been someone's home, someone's workplace, someone's sanctuary. "Sir," reported the ship's intelligence officer, "we're detecting approximately 40,000 life signs still on the planet. They're trapped in underground shelters while the attackers systematically destroy surface infrastructure." Martinez turned to Captain Williams, the Leatherneck's commanding officer. "How close can you get us to their ships?" Williams studied the tactical display. "Sir, those vessels have point defense systems that could tear us apart before we get within boarding range. This is going to require a different approach." "What do you suggest, Captain?" Williams' smile was predatory. "Sir, we're going to do something so crazy that they'll never see it coming." Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council monitored the situation through hidden sensor arrays. In the crystalline chamber, Ambassador Veldar watched the human response with satisfaction. "You see," he announced to the assembled delegates, "a single military ship responds to the crisis." Clearly, the humans lack the will to mount a proper defense. When faced with superior force, they send token resistance. High Arbiter Quam Leth observed silently. Something about the human ship's approach vector seemed unusual. Instead of maintaining distance and attempting long-range engagement, the vessel was accelerating directly toward the Corvin ships. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "we are about to learn something important about these humans." The first lesson was about to begin. Captain Williams executed the most audacious maneuver of his career. Instead of approaching the Corvin ships conventionally, he ordered the USS Leatherneck to dive directly into New Pacifica's upper atmosphere, using the planet's gravity well to accelerate beyond what the pirates expected. "All hands, prepare for emergency atmospheric entry," Williams announced over the ship's communication system. "Marines, you have exactly 4 minutes to prep for immediate deployment." The Leatherneck screamed through the planet's atmosphere, its hull glowing cherry red from friction. Emergency systems screamed warnings as the ship pushed far beyond safe operational parameters. But Williams had calculated everything perfectly. The Corvin ships, massive and designed for deep space combat, couldn't follow the human vessel into the planet's atmosphere without risking catastrophic structural failure. They maintained their positions in high orbit, confident that the small human ship would be destroyed by atmospheric stress. They were wrong. Colonel Martinez felt his stomach drop as the Leatherneck pulled out of its dive just 2 kilometers above the planet's surface. Through the ship's viewports, he could see the devastation below. Entire neighborhoods lay in ruins, but his trained eye also caught something else. The geometric patterns of the destruction revealed that the attackers were deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure while avoiding anything that might house military equipment. "This isn't random piracy," Martinez told his staff. "This is systematic civilian targeting. Someone wanted to provoke a specific response." Before anyone could respond, the Leatherneck's engines roared to maximum power. Williams was executing the second phase of his plan, using the planet's gravity to slingshot directly at the largest Corvin vessel. "Marines, 30 seconds to deployment," came the announcement. "This is not a drill. We are now weapons-free." Gunnery Sergeant Santos felt the familiar calm that descended over her before combat. Around her, the Marines of 2nd Squad performed final equipment checks with practiced efficiency. Each warrior carried enough firepower to level a city block, but Santos knew their real weapon was their training and their fury. "Remember," she told her squad, "these ships have been bombarding civilian targets for 6 hours. Children are dead down there. Families destroyed. These pirates think humans won't fight back properly because we prefer peace." Private Chun, the young Marine who had questioned their chances earlier, stepped forward. "Gunny, what's our primary objective once we're aboard their ship?" Santos' smile was visible through her helmet's transparent faceplate, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Son, our primary objective is to teach these pirates the difference between a peaceful species and a species that chooses peace because we're capable of something much worse." The USS Leatherneck completed its slingshot maneuver, accelerating directly toward the command ship of the Corvin fleet. The pirates, caught completely off guard by the seemingly suicidal approach, scrambled to bring their point defense systems online. Too late. Captain Williams had timed everything perfectly. The Leatherneck's approach vector took advantage of a 3-second gap in the Corvin ship's defensive coverage, a tiny window that existed only because the alien vessel's designers had never imagined anyone would be crazy enough to attempt a direct ram attack. But the humans weren't planning to ram the ship. They were planning something much worse. At the last possible second, Williams reversed engines and brought the Leatherneck alongside the Corvin vessel's hull. Magnetic clamps locked the ships together with a sound like thunder. Cutting charges detonated simultaneously along a 50-meter section of the enemy ship's hull. "Marines, you are cleared to board," Martinez announced over the tactical net. "Show these pirates why you don't target human civilians." 800 Marines poured through the breach like an unstoppable tide. The Corvan pirates, reptilian beings standing nearly 3 meters tall, had prepared for potential boarding actions by smaller numbers. They had not prepared for what happened next. Sergeant Santos led her squad through the initial breach. The ship's interior was dimly lit, designed for the Corvan's enhanced night vision. But the Marines' helmet systems compensated instantly, displaying the corridor ahead in perfect detail. The first group of Corvan defenders appeared around a corner, massive pulse rifles in their clawed hands. They were confident in their size advantage and superior numbers. That confidence lasted exactly 2 seconds. Santos' squad moved with precision that seemed almost supernatural. Each Marine knew exactly where their teammates were positioned, creating overlapping fields of fire that left no avenue of escape. Their weapons, designed specifically for close-quarters combat, punched through Corvan armor like paper. But it wasn't the weapons that terrified the pirates. It was the way the humans fought. The Corvans had engaged in piracy for decades, attacking dozens of different species. They had fought desperate defenders, angry merchants, even military escorts. But they had never faced anything like human Marines who had just watched civilians being murdered. The humans didn't fight for territory or resources. They fought with a cold, methodical fury that seemed to consume everything in their path. They advanced through the ship with relentless precision, clearing each section with brutal efficiency. "Sector 7 secured," reported Sergeant Kim over the tactical net. 15 pirates neutralized, 0 Marine casualties. Moving to engineering. "Sector 4 secured," came another report. "Found the ship's communication array. They've been coordinating with 2 other vessels. Also found evidence of previous attacks on civilian populations." Colonel Martinez monitored the reports from his position near the main breach. His Marines were performing exactly as trained, but he could hear something in their voices that concerned him. They were angry, not the hot, undisciplined anger that led to mistakes, but the cold, focused anger of professionals who had found an enemy that deserved everything they were about to receive. "All squads, remember your ROE," Martinez reminded them over the tactical net. "Neutralize resistance, secure the ship, protect any prisoners or civilian captives." "Sir," came Sergeant Santos' voice, "we found something you need to see." "Deck 7, Section Charlie." Martinez made his way through the ship's corridors, passing evidence of his Marines' advance. The Corvan ship was massive, designed to hold thousands of pirates, but his forces were systematically clearing each section with machine-like efficiency. He found Santos standing outside what appeared to be a holding area. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see dozens of beings from various species. Men, women, children, all obviously prisoners. "Sir," Santos reported, "we've found approximately 200 prisoners. Multiple species, including 37 humans. From the computer records we've accessed, these pirates have been conducting slave raids across this sector for months." Martinez felt something cold settle in his stomach. This wasn't random piracy. This was organized, systematic predation on civilian populations. "Any sign of recent captures from New Pacifica?" he asked. "Yes, sir. 43 individuals taken during the initial bombardment. They were planning to sell them in the Outer Rim markets." Martinez activated his communication system. "All squad leaders, new intelligence. This operation involves slave-taking. Adjust your approach accordingly." The change in the Marines' behavior was immediate and terrifying. Where they had been methodical before, they now became something approaching a force of nature. The distinction was subtle but unmistakable. They were no longer just clearing a ship of pirates. They were eliminating slavers. The Corvan pirates quickly realized that their usual tactics weren't working. These humans didn't fight like any species they had encountered. They moved through the ship like they owned it, clearing each section with ruthless efficiency while somehow avoiding any damage to the prisoners or critical ship systems. Captain Vextar, commander of the Corvin fleet, watched the tactical displays in growing horror. His flagship, the Bloodclaw, housed over 3,000 pirates. It was a mobile fortress that had terrorized shipping lanes across 6 sectors. The humans had been aboard for less than 30 minutes, and they had already secured 40% of his ship. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the humans are advancing on multiple fronts. Their coordination is unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be sharing real-time tactical information through some form of instantaneous communication network." Vextar studied the displays. The human advance wasn't random or rushed. They were systematically isolating key sections of his ship, cutting off escape routes, and eliminating his forces in precisely planned sequences. "How many humans are aboard?" he demanded. "Approximately 800, sir." Vextar's massive frame shuddered. 800 beings were systematically dismantling his ship and his crew with mathematical precision. "Open a communication channel," he ordered. "We'll negotiate." But when his communication officer tried to reach the human ship, he received an unexpected response. "This is Colonel Martinez, United States Marine Corps," came the reply. "You have targeted civilian populations and taken slaves. There will be no negotiation." The channel went dead. For the first time in his career as a pirate, Captain Vextar felt genuine fear. Meanwhile, in the crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Veldar watched the proceedings with growing unease. The human response was nothing like what he had predicted. "This is not possible," he muttered, studying the sensor data. "A single ship cannot board and capture a vessel 10 times its size." High Arbiter Quanleth observed the tactical displays with increasing interest. The humans were demonstrating capabilities that defied every standard military doctrine in the galactic database. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "we have made an error in our assumptions about this species." The second lesson was becoming clear. Humans didn't dread war. They had simply chosen peace because they were very, very good at war. The bridge of the Corvin flagship fell silent as the last of Captain Vextar's bodyguards collapsed. Gunnery Sergeant Santos stepped over the massive reptilian form, her weapon trained on the pirate captain. Around the bridge, her Marines had secured every station with textbook precision. "Captain Vextar," Colonel Martinez announced as he entered the bridge, "you are hereby under arrest for crimes against civilian populations, slavery, and violation of interspecies protection protocols." The massive Corvin captain, towering nearly 3 meters in height, stared down at the human colonel. Even defeated, Vextar's presence was intimidating. His scaled hide bore the scars of dozens of battles, and his reputation for brutality was legendary across 6 sectors. "You cannot possibly hold this ship with so few numbers," Vextar growled, his translator rendering his words in perfect standard. "My crew numbers in the thousands." Martinez consulted his tactical display. "Actually, Captain, your crew numbered 3,217. As of 30 seconds ago, we have secured your entire vessel. Your surviving crew members are secured in your own holding cells." Vextar's eyes widened. "Impossible. No force that small could." "Sergeant Santos," Martinez interrupted, "status report." Santos snapped to attention. "Sir, all sections secured. We have freed 237 prisoners of various species. Enemy casualties, 3,012. Marine casualties, 0 serious injuries, 7 minor wounds. Estimated time for complete ship capture, 34 minutes. The bridge fell silent. Even the human Marines seemed surprised by their own efficiency. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Shun from the communication station, "we're receiving surrender signals from the other 2 Corvin ships. They've observed our capture of the flagship and are requesting terms." Martinez walked to the bridge's main viewport, looking out at the other pirate vessels. In the distance, he could see New Pacifica, its surface still burning from the bombardment. "No terms," Martinez said quietly. "Board both ships. Same rules of engagement." Within 2 hours, the entire Corvan fleet had been captured. 800 Marines had neutralized a pirate armada that had terrorized civilian populations for decades. The galaxy took notice. In the Galactic Council chamber, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss what they had witnessed. The hidden sensor arrays had recorded everything, and the implications were staggering. Ambassador Veldar stood before the assembly, his confident demeanor replaced by obvious concern. Esteemed colleagues, the human response has exceeded all projections. Our test has revealed capabilities that pose significant questions about galactic security. High Arbiter Quanleth activated the holographic displays, showing the tactical progression of the Marine boarding action. In 34 minutes, 800 human warriors captured a vessel crewed by over 3,000 experienced pirates. They did so with 0 fatalities and minimal injuries to themselves. Counselor Thexrick of the Mantic Collective clicked his mandibles in agitation. More concerning is their restraint. At any point during the operation, they could have simply destroyed the Corvan ships. Instead, they chose to board and capture, preserving not only their enemies' lives, but also the lives of over 200 prisoners. The display shifted to show the freed prisoners being evacuated to human medical facilities. Beings from dozens of species received treatment from human doctors and care from human support staff. This presents a paradox, continued Thexrick. The humans demonstrated overwhelming military superiority while simultaneously showing remarkable compassion for non-combatants. This combination is unprecedented in galactic military history. Counselor Xeris of the Plasma Collective pulsed with what passed for concern among her energy-based species. We authorized Protocol Omega-7 to reveal human military capabilities. We have succeeded beyond our expectations. The question now is, what do we do with this information? Ambassador Veldar activated another hologram. I propose immediate action to contain this threat. The humans' military capabilities, combined with their expansionist tendencies, represent a clear danger to galactic stability. Expansionist tendencies? High Arbiter Quanleth's voice carried a note of incredulity. Ambassador, human expansion has been entirely peaceful. They have established colonies only on unoccupied worlds and have engaged in extensive diplomatic outreach to existing civilizations. That's precisely what makes them dangerous. Veldar's hide shifted to an agitated orange. No species can be simultaneously militarily superior and genuinely peaceful. It defies evolutionary logic. Before anyone could respond, a new voice entered the chamber. Perhaps you would prefer to ask the humans directly about their intentions. Every delegate turned toward the speaker. Standing in the chamber's entrance was a human woman in a formal diplomatic uniform. She was flanked by 2 individuals in military dress that the council now recognized as Marine uniforms. I am Ambassador Jennifer Walsh, representing the United Earth government, the woman announced. Behind me are Colonel James Martinez and Gunnery Sergeant Maria Santos of the United States Marine Corps. We understand you have questions about recent events at New Pacifica. The chamber erupted in chaos. How had humans gained access to the council chamber? How long had they known about the Galactic Council's existence? How had they arrived here so quickly? High Arbiter Quanleth called for order. Ambassador Walsh, your presence here raises many questions. How did you locate our council chambers? Ambassador Walsh smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both diplomatic and slightly predatory. Honored Arbiter, human intelligence capabilities are quite advanced. We became aware of your organization approximately 6 months ago, shortly after we detected the sensor arrays monitoring our colonies. More chaos rippled through the chamber. Their covert observation had been discovered months ago. However, Walsh continued, we chose not to make contact until we better understood your intentions. The attack on New Pacifica clarified those intentions quite effectively. Ambassador Veldar stepped forward, his 4 arms gesturing aggressively. You have no right to access this chamber. This is Sovereign Council territory. Sergeant Santos spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the flat, professional tone that Marines used when they were being polite, but prepared for violence. Sir, with respect, your organization hired pirates to attack human civilians. You don't get to complain about uninvited guests. Colonel Martinez stepped forward. What my sergeant is diplomatically saying, Ambassador Veldar, is that you initiated hostilities against the United Earth government. Under human military doctrine, that makes you a legitimate military target. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. The humans weren't just capable of projecting military force. They had infiltrated the galaxy's most secure facility and were now calmly discussing military retaliation against the Council itself. High Arbiter Quamleth raised one ancient appendage for silence. Ambassador Walsh, what are human intentions regarding the Galactic Council? Walsh's expression became serious. Honored Arbiter, humans have no interest in conquest or domination. We prefer cooperation and peaceful coexistence. However, we will not tolerate attacks on civilian populations, regardless of who authorizes them. She activated a small device, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. The images showed human colonies, but not as the Council had observed them before. Now, they could see the defensive installations hidden beneath peaceful facades, the military vessels disguised as research ships, the training facilities concealed within recreational areas. You see, Walsh explained, humans learned long ago that the best way to maintain peace is to be prepared for war. Our colonies are defended. Our ships are armed. Our Marines are trained. We simply prefer not to advertise these capabilities unless circumstances require it. Ambassador Veldar's hide had shifted to a pale, fearful blue. You've been deceiving the galaxy about your military strength. Colonel Martinez answered this time. No, sir. We've been honest about our intentions. We want peace, but we've never claimed to be defenseless. There's a significant difference between preferring peace and being incapable of war. Sergeant Santos added, what happened at New Pacifica was 800 Marines responding to an attack on civilians. If the Council wants to see what happens when humans actually go to war, you're welcome to continue testing us. The threat was delivered in such a matter-of-fact tone that it was more terrifying than any dramatic declaration could have been. High Arbiter Quamleth studied the humans for a long moment. In her millennia of experience, she had encountered many species at the moment they revealed their true capabilities to the galaxy. Usually, such revelations were accompanied by demands for territory, resources, or submission. What do humans want from the Galactic Council? She asked. Ambassador Walsh's smile returned, warmer this time. Friendship, if possible. Trade relationships. Cultural exchange. Mutual defense agreements against actual threats. We're aware that the galaxy faces several hostile forces that prey on peaceful civilizations. We'd like to help address those problems. She gestured toward the holographic displays showing the freed prisoners from the Corvin ships. As of this morning, human forces have eliminated 17 pirate fleets based on intelligence recovered from the Corvin vessels. Over 4,000 civilians of various species have been freed from slavery. We've done this as a gesture of good faith, demonstrating that our military capabilities will be used to protect the innocent rather than threaten them. The chamber was silent as delegates processed this information. In less than 24 hours, humans had neutralized pirate fleets that had terrorized civilian populations for years. Counselor Thexrick was the first to speak. You eliminated 17 fleets in a single day. Coronel Martinez nodded. Ma'am, once we had the intelligence data, it was simply a matter of deployment. The United States Marine Corps has been training for large-scale operations for centuries. Yesterday was just practice. Practice. Ambassador Veldar's voice was barely a whisper. Sergeant Santos answered with that same matter-of-fact tone. Yes, sir. When humans actually go to war, we don't send 800 Marines to capture ships. We send everything. High Arbiter Quamleth made her decision. The Galactic Council formally recognizes the United Earth government as a sovereign interstellar power. We extend an invitation for full membership in the Council, with all associated rights and responsibilities. Ambassador Walsh bowed formally. We accept with gratitude. However, We do have one condition, which is Ambassador Veldar and his supporters will formally apologize to the families who lost loved ones at New Pacifica. Additionally, the Council will establish protocols to ensure that no member government ever again authorizes attacks on civilian populations for any reason. Veldar's hide shifted through several colors before settling on resignation. The Zephyrian Empire agrees to these terms. As the formal ceremonies began, Sergeant Santos leaned over to Colonel Martinez. "Sir, do you think they've learned their lesson?" Martinez watched the alien delegates who had spent months debating whether humans were too peaceful to be dangerous. "Sergeant, I think they've learned that there's a difference between a species that can't fight and a species that chooses not to fight. And the difference is?" Martinez smiled, the same expression he'd worn when facing down 3,000 pirates with 800 Marines. "The difference, Sergeant, is that when you finally push a peaceful species to war, you discover exactly why they chose peace in the first place." The galaxy had learned that humans didn't dread war. They had simply learned to be very, very careful about when they chose to fight. The Galactic Council had wanted to see human military capabilities. They had gotten their wish. The question now was whether they would be wise enough to ensure they never saw those capabilities used at full scale. Because 800 Marines capturing 3 ships had been humanity showing restraint. The galaxy was not prepared for what humans could do when they stopped being restrained.